known markets and have known products. So historically, most entrepreneurs tended to have a lot of work experience in large companies and a lot of background industry knowledge before beginning, and so they tended to follow this process, which looked more like this. It started with a set of requirements for the product that were generally developed internally in the company. Those are then used to create the design or the architecture of the software or the product. Engineers and programmers would then spend a lot of time developing and building this product, and it would then be put into a phase of testing, delivery, and feedback. And so the business model, with each of these pieces, whether it be the product development or whether it be figuring out who the customers are or who the key partners or what the revenue model should be, we need some process that's going to allow us to discover these things more rapidly and at a cheaper price. So last time I left you with the questions of looking at your business model and thinking about where the risk is and where you should begin trying to reduce it. And so I told you to think about your own venture and to think through which aspects of it are the most uncertain, where you might want to focus your initial experiments and tests. And so we talked about this scientific methodology that began with asking a question and then moved to doing some background research and formulating a hypothesis. So how do we move this into the startup context? So the first question you might be asking yourself if you're thinking about how to apply this is, how do you do background research in a startup context? There are no existing journals or papers that you can go and read as scientists might. So do you look on Google? Are the answers in books? Probably not. In industries with knowledge about customers and products, these things aren't usually recorded and written down in the usual ways. And so the facts that you need are outside of your building. You can't get them in the library or by simply thinking through these things. You have to actually go out there and talk to customers, identify who the key industry veterans are, and see if you can get them as mentors. You want to talk to potential partners and see what they think about your plans and ideas, because all of this has to fit together. And so in this way, we can go about starting to design some experiments. Once you've done a bit of this background research, then you can use these industry veterans and these mentors as a kind of equivalent to the peer review process in science. And so they're going to keep you honest. They're going to help you design the experiments and interpret the results of them.
Not a sales team, but the founders can go out and generate some revenue with this company. That's what I call customer validation.
Putting the front end to the website and showing it to a bunch of people. It could be buying Google AdWords and seeing how many people click on your idea for a new product. It could be asking customers for money in a couple of different ways. Maybe one model that's a subscription, one model that's a one-time fee, and in this way you test out what type of revenue model might work for the business. But you want to start with the highest risk areas and start with the cheapest and quickest experiments that you can run. There, interpret the results in a dynamic environment, then being more optimistic hurts your performance. And so this is at least some evidence that being too over-optimistic in a venture hurts you, and that it can help to be slightly paranoid because you can better interpret the results of these experiments and see where you need to change course. The experiment fails when the hypothesis is shown to be untrue or at least partially true. One common reaction is for the entrepreneur to say, that customer didn't get it. Let's find a different one. They just don't understand what we're doing. That's not our target market. And so you can continue on like this. On the other hand, if the experiment fails, it's more difficult to say, oh wait, something was wrong in our hypothesis. But we didn't fail. We learned something. It's more difficult to be persistent in that you want to keep moving forward, but also be flexible enough that you're willing to slightly change direction when you see something isn't working. So holding these two ideas in your head at the same time, whether it be flexibility and persistence or optimism and paranoia, are the key difficulty for entrepreneurs and why this process is so hard. That's it for this video.
For more, please visit us at Stanford.